everybody! Today I'm going to make a lantern out of a boxer shorts packaging. Yeah, you heard right. This box was actually the packaging of some underwear that we bought earlier this year, and I thought this was quite well robust and fitting well for a lantern. So what you do first is, or what I did first, I put some paper into the box to prevent the backside of the box being covered with spray. And then I just sprayed the box from the bottom up, but not all the way up, with silver spray, color spray. And that is actually, with the gray, working pretty well, so I didn't have to paint all over the box in the first place. If you have only like normal brown boxes or nothing of that color scheme that you need, you might have to base coat everything with acrylics and then go over it with the spray or glue some pattern paper down. So now that this is drying, I move on to some pattern paper that I want to make stars out of, or ice crystals. And since I'm going for a quite cool color scheme here with the silver and the gray, I wanted to have some bluish paper, and I'm just deciding which pattern I'm going to use. I'm not going for ice crystals because, well, I'm going to punch ice crystals out of the paper. So I was thinking about it for a second, but I did choose Christmas trees in the end. They're pretty tiny and you cannot really see them like once the ice crystals are punched out, but the paper works color-wise best, and it has a nice pattern that is not too dominant. So I chose my paper here, and I want the crystals to only be adhered in the middle and have the ends standing up. So I need both sides of the pages being covered with this lovely pattern. So I just folded the paper in half and I'm spraying it with some spray adhesive, because this is just the quickest way, and it won't be bulky and waving all over the place, but stay fairly straight. And it dries super quickly, so this is a good point to use spray adhesive. So I'm just putting that aside for a second and cleaned out my desk, and now that my paper is dry, I'm just punching some ice crystals with this lovely punch. And just to remind you, all of the supplies that I use here are listed down below in the description box, as well as on my blog. So you can go there, see some other high resolution photos, and click through the list of material I used. So now I need to have some transparent paper for the inner parts of the lantern, and I'm just using the box as a help for finding out, or for figuring out how big that transparent paper only has to be, and then I'm cutting it down to the right size. You could also leave the transparent paper out of the project, but then I would recommend that you have some nice coloring on the inside of the box, like have it sprayed with silver spray. In my case here as well would have been an option, but I wanted to go for the transparent paper and not have everything just sprayed with tons and tons of silver or gray. So I'm just using my X-Acto knife here and a ruler, and it's fairly simple to cut the paper to the right size. Just working with the grid on my craft mat. So helpful, guys. I have to tell you, if you don't have one, go for it. This is like one of the smaller sizes, and it works out very, very well. You don't always have to have the big ones. So now that this paper is cut, I'm applying double-faced tape, adhesive tape here, cutting it to the size that I need. And the one that I just did will be the bottom. Now I'm going for the 3 longer strips. I'm not going to apply anything on the top. For me, it's okay that the paper stands away from the box a bit on top. It's really just maybe 2 millimeters. But this tape is fairly strong, so I would probably have had problems to get the paper into the box and not have it stick to the cardboard before it should. And I'm just going for the middle here because there's this tiny part in between the 2 windows in the box, so I just want to have some adhesive there. So just had everything glued. I'm taking my box, and you can see that middle part that I was just talking about. So I'm just gluing the transparent paper into the box. Works out nicely, but I guess I would have had problems if I would have had the adhesive tape like all over the upper part of the box. And you can see it's really maybe like 1.5 millimeters that you have these like tiny waves on top, on the upper part of the transparent paper. You can't really see it from the outside though, so I guess it worked out fine. Now that my core of the box, of the lantern, is done, I am trying to figure out where to put my 3 ice crystals, and I want them to be on the lower left of the lantern. And you can use either a tiny candle in a glass to put inside the lantern, or maybe just one of those, what are they called? Let me find out while you see me putting down some silver star stickers on the upper part. Tea candles, that's what they are called. You could also put tea candles, 1 tea candle into the lantern, so you can use it for both because it's quite sizable. So there's enough room for a small candle in a glass, like the one that are scented. Maybe if you are into that for Christmas season, that would work pretty well. As for those stickers, I'm just putting the stars down. They have 3 different sizes, and I'm just eyeballing where I want them to be and represent kind of like the night star heavens, and those ice crystals are pretty much already landing on Earth. So this is the scenario that I'm going for here. And I'm just putting those stickers down, like I said, by a gut feeling. I'm not measuring or looking where something would work best and if I should move it here or there. My brain does that automatically, so I don't have to think about it anymore. I'm just covering the front part of the lantern. It would also be very nice if you would have it on a table and maybe not a windowsill, if you would cover all of the sides of that lantern. So with ice crystals being quite sparkly, I decided to add some tiny diamond gems to the center of the ice crystals. I'm just checking how they look on the pattern paper, if they fit into the design as I imagined. And they do. They're just a bit tricky to put on because they don't have any adhesive on the back yet. They're fairly tiny. So my recommendation, use tweezers for these tiny things if you have clumsy hands like I do. So now that I know what it looks like, I'm taking some adhesive. And the one that I use is super glue, which dries within a second. And I'm applying it to the center of the ice crystals so that I can push the sides up a bit later and everybody can see that there's also pattern paper on the backside of the ice crystals. You could also leave it if you don't want to, that's totally fine, or you just use normal one-sided printed pattern paper and glue them onto the box with no parts standing over the edges. So now that the pattern paper is glued down, I also use the same adhesive for the gems. Just pushing them into the middle, and you have to position them very well because, like I said, it takes a second or two for the glue to dry to a point where you can't move anything around anymore. And the third one, of course, gives me a bit of a fight here. It's struggling. I'm struggling to put that one down. It's always the third. But with my handy tweezers, I manage and win in the end. I just have that sitting there while I choose some embroidery thread, and I took ice gray. And I just wrap it around the box, holding it in place to tie a bow in the front parts. But once I came around, I decided not to tie a bow because I wanted the ice crystals to be the focal point and not the bow on top of them. So what I did instead is I moved to the remainings of the thread after I cut them to the back side of the box. And I just added a tiny bit of that super glue and have the strings be staying fixed on the back side. And that drop of super glue is it dries clear, so it's invisible. And that tiny bit is enough to really hold that thread down. I think it makes a very clear and clean line, and it still makes the box look more stylish with that bit of thread, but it's not too romantic or playful. So that was the video for today. I hope you enjoyed watching along and maybe you are inspired to make some lanterns on your own. Go ahead. Have fun, go create. I'm seeing you tomorrow on the next video. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.